Yo, welcome to another episode of the Rugged Angel podcast. I am your host, Camila. This is the 4th of July weekend is coming up. Hopefully everybody has a 3-day weekend, and I hope you enjoy yourselves. Make sure you have a lot of safe and happy good times, full of fireworks, if you like that sort of thing, and cookouts, of course you like that sort of thing, and family and friends, and or even just lazying around. If you just want to spend the entire weekend just by yourself, chilling, catching up on, I don't know what you're into, some sort of reality TV on Oxygen or Bravo or something like that, or, you just want to kind of get through your Netflix queue. Use the time how you want. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I am going to go see Magic Mike Double XL on the 4th of July with a couple of my friends. Shout out to Bernadette, Maddie, and Caitlin. So we're super stoked about that. What else is going on? Oh, I gave away. It's just me. I gave away some Doctor Who toys, like a Doctor Who vinyl figure and an art print. I had a little contest going on because I got that stuff out of my nerd box, and I don't watch Doctor Who, so I didn't need it. So what I did was ran a little Twitter contest, and congratulations to Rebecca Weaver. You'll be getting that stuff soon. As soon as you send me your mailing address, I can get that out to the mail for you, and you can have your Dr. Whovian happiness in your mailbox coming your way. Also, while I'm here, guys, send me some email. I want to get to know you. If you have any questions for me, some comments, I would be happy to hear that. I would want to read that. Send me some emails. I want to find out who you are. Most importantly, just tell me, are you a rugged angel? Why are you a rugged angel? And I might read it on the air. So get at me at ruggedangel@gmail.com. You can also find me at ruggedangel.com. Also follow me on Twitter, _ruggedangel. You can also subscribe on iTunes, as well as follow me on SoundCloud and like the Rugged Angel Productions Facebook page. That would be great. All right, this is episode 16, and it is with my friend, now I can say that we're friends, Jennifer Guffey. We're still doing the Pittsburgh 48-hour film project special edition here, and I'm super stoked about it because it's coming up shortly too. That's like next weekend, and we'll talk about it some more in this podcast. You can still go to the Pittsburgh 48-hour film project Facebook page and find out all sorts of dope info on this exciting competition that happens every year here in Pittsburgh for the last 9 years. So Jennifer Guffey, she has competed in 2 48-hour film projects. She's also a web designer, a graphic designer. She is a film editor, and she's just a super awesome lady to talk to, and we just get into a lot of it. And she has some really good advice for those who are participating in the 48-hour film project, or even if you just want to do just making films on your own. Like she's got a good grasp on what to do for filmmaking. Words of wisdom: tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. Benjamin Franklin. Jennifer Guffey, welcome to the Rugged Angel podcast.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
You are well armed with your big old cup of joe.
Yes.
On this dreary Sunday morning. It's so rainy and dark and gloomy outside.
I know the poor people down at I was attempting to get coffee and then realized Lawrenceville has a street something going on.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like open streets thing happening today. Yeah. Oh man, that's.
I went this way. There was no coffee this way. I went back this way. Tried to go to the subway. I couldn't find the subway, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gas station and come back. So, I got it.
Okay, so we are here to talk about you. I want to know about you and
Okay.
what your deal is, and also your your experiences with the Pittsburgh 48-hour film project.
Mhm.
So first and foremost, where are you from? Where's
I am from central Pennsylvania. I was born in it is technically a city, but I came out here and it's not a city.
in comparison?
Oh, no. I was actually born in Sunbury, but I came from a little white picket fence town called Watsontown, Pennsylvania. Very small.
Never heard of it.
It's one of those towns with like maybe 5,000 people, 7,000 people. My high school class had like 110, literally in the middle of a cornfield.
Wow.
Like, I mean, we with the cross country ran through swampland. And actually there's historical house on the school grounds that can never be changed or removed, that every year they have something called Heritage Days where they whore out the students to work there for extra credit in social studies classes. So so it's a very tiny little place, and but I think a lot of it definitely shaped me, because I think I always was like, this is so small and so quaint, and so you got really into the people, like you really examined because everyone in a small town knows everyone anyway, but
right.
if you look at those stories, you see all these little tiny stories about little tiny people, and you're just like, oh, this would make a great story,
That's a great way to look at it. I've never heard anybody describe living in a small town that way before.
Just gotta look around. There's some
So
crazies.
did you write a lot when you were growing up, or?
My best friend was more of a writer than I was. I mean, we used to, I would write short stories and poetry. I used to you know what, I should say I did write. I remember when I was in high school and middle school, when you had to remember all the vocab words.
Yeah.
And then you had to use them in a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
I would write a story with the vocab words on my test, just because
nice.
I wanted, I somehow felt like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I would do that. I used to write Sequest DSV fan fiction
Fanfic?
scripts.
Sequest. Okay, that's. Okay. I've never
Brandis.
seen that show, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's awesome.
So I had a couple notebooks of those laying around.
Wonderful.
I think there was some Star Trek Voyager fan fiction in there too. There was just I was all about I want to see these characters do something else.
I love it.
So, and Janeway was my girl. I was like, yeah, women in space, let's do this. So, yeah. So I mean, I guess I did write. I didn't think about it now, because I think now I write way less. I mean, for some reason it's I think because now I have my phone, I can just visually capture something, and it's very strange. I think I should get back into it, but
yeah, we definitely should. Do you get back to back home often, or?
I try to. My first 2 years of college, I went to IUP.
Okay.
And then transferred back to Bloomsburg, which is closer to where I live, only about 45 minutes away. But when I was at IUP, I mean, I would be driving home every other weekend. So I was so used to the trip, and now, and I still had tests and everything. So you would think, why would you do that? But now, when I don't have a reason to really drive home, I don't find myself driving home as much, and I still call it home. It's hard to not call it home, but I do get back there. My sister, who's my best friend in the whole world, I to see her, my mother, my father, my whole family. But yeah, actually, I think I'm going back for a family reunion this coming month. So
nice.
Yeah.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
One younger sister who thinks she's older than me.
What's the age difference?
2.5 years.
Oh man.
And also 2.5 inches. She's taller than me. So.
Well, what brought you to Pittsburgh?
I was out here with some friends who had gone. A guy I went to high school with, actually middle school, and I'd known him for years and years and years. Came out to Pittsburgh for school, and then he moved to Ohio, and then I came out here to hang out with them. And while I was here, I was like, I really, I really love the city. Even when I was at IUP, I didn't get down here a lot, or up, down, a lot. And I just like, oh, and I was working at a job that I wasn't really happy with. I was working for a for-profit school, and if you met everyone, like, I mean, there's a certain type. I mean, you really have to love like direct sales, and I mean, it's got to be direct sales to someone to say you're changing their life, and I hate to break, but you're really not in a lot of instances, and so I was kind of beaten down by that, and I saw something, like, somehow, I don't know how I saw Chatham, and I saw the film program there, and I thought, you know what? I can do that. And I've always been one of those impulsive, like, ENFP types. I was like, I'm gonna go home and I'm just gonna fill out the FAFSA and I'm gonna mail something in and be like, can I come here next year? And I got written back by the director of the program, Prajna, and she said, who's lovely, by the way. She's just,
yeah, she is.
Yeah, awesome. She knows her stuff. But she wrote back and said, why don't you come this year? So within 2 weeks of visiting Pittsburgh, I had gathered everything around, gathered references, all of this stuff from different angles. And within 2 weeks, I was heading off to Pittsburgh. I didn't even have anywhere to live. I lived in the little, one of those, there's one on McKnight Road that I lived in, the hotels where you could live.
Oh, really? Like the extended stay?
I was at an extended stay for like 2 weeks while I was here until my, dorm room, my housing opened up for the grad studies. And then I got in there, and then and I've been here ever since.
Man, okay. So were you studying any film at all beforehand, or?
When I first started school, I went into school for television production.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. And at IUP, they do have television production, and they have, because it's a bigger school. Even though they're state schools, they're kind of worlds apart as far as what they focus on. And in Bloomsburg, it's not near any major cities, except for, unless you consider Scranton, Wilkes-Barre major. Dunder Mifflin. But unless you consider them major, but so a focus there was, they're amazing for education, any kind of, I think actually American Sign Language is where communications is one of their major things.
Really?
But mass communications, unfortunately, was not. So I had to switch my major from television production and had to actually take a lot of electives, because a lot of the classes they didn't even offer. One was radio production. They didn't even offer that at
Really?
Bloomsburg. So I had to switch to advertising. And then my junior year, we were all called into an assembly, or at the end of my junior year, we were called into this assembly where they informed us that every student in the advertising program and actually every student in mass communications, that it was being dissolved because they were trying to get funding from the state, and the state audited all of the programs and found that advertising was lacking. Oh. And so everyone was just in an uproar, well, no.
So this was already your just second choice
this
anyway.
Was my second choice anyway, so I'm here. And they ended up saying, well, if you're already junior, you can, finish. If you were a sophomore or junior, or obviously if you were a senior, you're graduating, you could continue. But any freshman who had a year of advertising already would have to switch majors because they were not. And so I was like, oh, this is. But while I was there, they had a television club, and I think it was called something ridiculous, like Television Club. So I was like, well, there's no film society here. And coming from IUP, where I did some short films within my major, and then also I did a lot I really tried my last year there, which is my sophomore year there. I was on the closed TV program. Actually, I worked on this show called Fuzzy Channels, and
Fuzzy Channels?
Yeah, actually, another person who's from Pittsburgh was actually one of the, or not from, who is here now, who Dave Fedor was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was on Fuzzy Channels as well. It's got white hair and Brian Montgomery. I'm trying to think of all the people on it, but it was. I mean, it didn't end for me as amicably as I would have liked, but I think it was like years ago. So right now I'm like over it, and I made mistakes, and there were other mistakes. But I mean, that was my life. Like I failed an English class for that, like to do that because I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to make TV. I want to make, and it was sketch comedy, which was kind of not my forte. Like I mean, I'm good at like production. I'm good at I know my strengths, but like sketch comedy was not like, so they'd ask me for an idea and be like, "Okay, what about this?" And it's like, I don't know how funny that is, but let's use half of it and go here. So I mean that was really when I came to Bloomsburg, and there was nothing like that. It was like, oh, this is so.
Gotcha.
We made a film society.
Okay.
We showed some short films there at our first society, like film. Because I was like, we need a film festival. We have a society. So I was like, okay, we got to show films here for this. And it was, it was really great. And I didn't feel like it was a waste to go to Bloomsburg, because I did, meet people there, and I still continued to learn. But if I had to do it over, I think I would have stuck somewhere where I was closer to Pittsburgh and maybe transferred around here. But
okay. So you've always had that love of television production and film, and so that kind of started along early.
Film was it. I guess it kind of flowed into it. Like I think when I got to Bloomsburg, because there was nothing with television production, I wasn't as happy with what they had there, which was basically I think that all they really did for television there was a news program. Yeah. Just one news. And I ended up working in news for a while. But, like, I mean, it was not something that I wanted to get into, really. Because I really like the creative side of, which is funny because I love making documentaries, too. But I really wanted to do something more creative and more thought out, not something that's like, okay, we got this story, throw it out, get it out, get me a byline, do this. And so that's when I think I started floating towards film. That's when I really started with creating the site, moving that way, because then all my friends were making short films. Of course, it was the era of like David Lynch, and so everyone was making every single film was black and white. Every single film made no sense. Every single film was like, no, but it's art. And I'm like, all right, okay,
if you say so.
Let me drink some more. Yep, it's art. I got it.
So when did you first do the 48-hour film project?
The first time was in 2010, 11. 2011. Oh my goodness. Now I have to think. 2011. Yes. And I was on a team, because this was my first one. I have no idea what is expected of me and what's going on. So I choose to team up with people, and I was lucky I got on a really good team that did, that seemed to be very focused on what they were doing.
What team was it?
It was on Confluence Productions team with Ted Haynes and Michael Smith. And I was brought on as a production manager. Okay. Because they knew from talking with me and talking with Will, and knowing I had gone to school for film now, and I had my MFA, and I was kind of into the details, nitty gritty, that they could rely on me to keep everything on task.
Excellent.
And which was I was like, yeah. And so, I was very fortunate. It was a lot more, I want to say it was a lot more daunting for reasons that I didn't think would occur, rather than the ones that I thought would. So what I thought was going to happen was I was going to get there, and it was going to be a situation of I would not know what, I wouldn't be on point and I wouldn't know what to do. And everyone would kind of say, oh, well, you know, you just stand over there. You just stand over there. And what I found was, it was more challenging because like I was trying so hard to keep everyone on point and say, no, I am on point. I got this. And because it's in 48 hours and everyone's emotions are running high, and everyone's going crazy, it's like everyone's like, okay, well, we understand that we need to move on, but we're discussing this right now. We need to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, but you're not. And the thing is, I've never been under a time constraint to make something. Okay. So I mean, I had for like,
not anything like that.
Yes,
like 48 hours.
Like, right. Like, and I mean, I worked, and like I said, I worked in news, and we would have stuff come in and we had to get it out there. But you're getting out facts. You're getting out facts with a graphic, and you're not standing there trying to describe what mood the lighting should be for this. Like the lighting is always the same. It's just, you know, what line you're going to use, not the delivery of the line, I guess. So it was a very eye-opening experience as to what, and I took in everything I took from that experience. So when I had my own team with my husband, I tried to take everything that I wanted to do from that first one, and since I was in charge now, try to do that.
And how did that work out for you?
Really well, actually. I was actually really, really happy. Like, nothing, I mean, not to be, you know, I think I'm one of those people who I always say, oh, no, you know, if you talk to me, like, just generally, sometimes a lot of people have thought, well, people have thought I was snooty because I'm just very shy sometimes. And sometimes until someone talks to me, if someone talks to me, yeah, I'm not shutting up. Then I'm like, blah, 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 blah. But if they don't talk to me, I'm very shy and I'm very concerned, like, oh, you know, like kind of wallflowerish. But for some reason, when it comes to filmmaking and I'm on a set that I know I'm in charge of something, that all goes out the window. I get on point, in control, because it's something I really love and I'm passionate about, and I want to make it the best. I want to make the best it is. And so when it came to this 48, in 2012, when we had our own team,
and that was Flawed Films,
Perfectly Flawed Films. Yep, which is Will Guffey and I. We first of all decided before anything, and I would tell anyone who's doing the 48, some of the most important planning or the most important things you're doing is way before that day ever comes when you get your time. I mean, it's really wonderful to say you're going to show up and be like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to get something, and I'm going to go. But that can't, like, it can't happen. And I've always thought filmmaking should be, it should be important, and you should make something you love, but you need to have fun. And you can't have fun if you're in chaos, because someone there are going to be type A's and type B's personalities in this whole. The type B's may be perfectly fine with that. The type A's who are working with you, you're going to drive them crazy. So as long as you have a plan in place, everyone can have fun. And, you know, we can change a shot. We can do this because, you know, we know what's coming after that. So
that's a great point.
I would tell anyone, you know, before you get there, plan out, you know, you don't know what you're going to pick, but brainstorm stories, write down what it is, write down a couple things, get a core group of actors who you trust to play multiple different types of people. And then of course, always the KISS method. Keep it simple. Like, yes. I mean, seriously, like, even if you're doing like even if you pull sci-fi, even if you pull something like that, you can still like brainstorm something simple that doesn't have a million different locations, a million different shots. And it still turned out great. But
you make very good points. Like, this is excellent. Just like, everybody, listen, if you're participating in the 48-hour film project ever at any point anywhere, this is very sound advice that I co-sign 100%.
And audio, and whoever your editor is, if it's not you. Like, I mean, if you have taken upon yourself and you're like, I'm staying up for the whole 48 and I'm gonna edit it and everything else, which I've done. And, you know, It is, it's not. But if someone is just your editor, first of all, don't let them do anything else. Don't make them the runner. Don't like make them, the gaffer. I don't care what. Like I don't care if they want to say they want to hold the boom while you're. Don't let them. Tell them to either go to sleep or go rest or do something, because you want them bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to do that editing, and then, buy him a beer afterwards, because it is one of the most thankless jobs of the whole force. So editors out there, I feel you.
Editors all over the place. I feel like we're not 100% just like appreciated.
No.
Like and I love editing, like personally,
yes.
but like they're unsung heroes. Like they can make or break your film.
Oh my
like
goodness,
100%,
yes.
and you're trusting them with conveying your story that you had in place. So yeah, buy them a beer.
or two.
Exactly. Say thank you, like a nice fruit basket, whatevs. It's just something that we just want to hear the words. We just
yes.
And so, and how many, okay, I know that there was a story for one, like there was something that had happened that year that you're editing. But before that, how many years have you participated in the 48?
Only 2.
Oh, really?
I know it seems like a lot more, because I think I've been around when different ones have happened, but and I've always said, if anybody needs anything for them, just let me know. This year I've told some teams, I'm like, even if the last minute you want to drag me in and throw me on whatever, just because I didn't, we always play around with doing another team again, but it just, I think there are so many good teams now. Like even when I started back in 2011, I think I hate to use one-upmanship because it is the wrong word to use, but the quality has the quality is insane, and the quality is going way up, and everyone's trying to do the next bigger, better thing, and it's trying to, the production values have gone through you have people renting out green screen rooms and just it just in preparation of something.
Right.
That I might do it again, but I think it's that I would rather be, it goes back to the fun factor. I want to, and I think I discussed this with another filmmaker, Justin Cremone. We were talking, you want to do something where when you get done with it, you don't want to look at the people you just worked with, even if it is for 48 hours, and say, I am never working with you again.
Truth.
Because that's, I really love what they've been doing with the 3x7, because there's not as much pressure. If you film it in, you still have that time to edit it and look over it and everything else. And for the 48, I would rather be someone on the side, and so I'm not feeling the pressure to argue with the director, argue with someone, and say,
to gather everybody, essentially, to pick and choose, and to formulate your crew.
To do that, I'd rather, for something like a 48, I want to be because I like I said, I know my strengths, and I know that if you're doing something like a 48, it's best to just know a little bit of everything, to help out a team. To be a main member of the team, you should be pretty well, I would never, 48 should be serious, but not that serious.
Truth. You don't want to lose friends and, mess up relationships.
Right. But in the same instance, don't tell someone, oh yeah, I'm a DP,
right,
and then show up
not knowing
with your iPhone and say, yeah, I was watching this. I watched some documentaries, and I was watching Citizen Kane last night again, and I thought, man, some of these it's so where's my gaffer? And be like, no, you're it. You're the DP. We figured you'd have lights. And it's oh, well, I can go get this lamp. I don't know. So don't get me wrong. You can make films that way.
Right. But represent yourself
as what you can do. Say what you
exactly. Truthfully, get in there.
And there's no shame in that.
No.
There is no shame in coming to something and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, in camera, like I can DP. I can tell you what a shot, but in camera, I'm still not completely convinced that I can get, an f-stop to where I want it to make
Right.
something look correct, because I mean, it's way more technical than I've ever, and I'm still learning with that. So, while I can tell you what a shot should look like and how it should, and I can look at it and be like, this lighting, it's perfect, and
Right.
everything, this in camera, I'm trusting my camera guy to put it on the screen.
No, exactly. I'm the same way. I can't verbalize with you like lighting. That's like my weakness. Like I can't really get it's most of the, and it's weird because I'm a photographer as well, but most of the photography it's just like kind of accidental. I'm looking at it and I'm like eyeballing like measurements. I couldn't like just verbally tell you like what I want. It's just
You
like
know
it's,
it when you see
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yep.
So there's things like that, and so yeah, you're like you got to let everybody know like if you're comfortable with doing this X, Y, and Z. If you don't know what you're doing, tell people. It's fine.
Please. It's okay, and you'll learn.
Right.
Follow the person who's doing
Exactly.
it and say, "How did you do this?"
Exactly. It's like I don't know how to do this, but it'd be super cool if you'd show me how, and
Yes.
that'd be great.
If you're not a gaffer, be a grip. You can learn so much.
Exactly. Okay, so the story that that.
Oh.
So what happened was
What had happened? Yeah. So we were on our last part of our 48 hours, and it was such a smooth, like I said, that whole planning, like everything, and this is goes back to you can't plan for everything. So our shoot, we came up with ideas beforehand that would work for a couple. We had our core group of actors. We were so privileged to work with Sean Hall, Don DiGiulio, his wife Tressa, just
yeah, those guys are great.
so many and I mean, I will fully give credit to and the incomparable Will Guffey. Like we can't forget,
Obviously. Hello.
So, the shoot went well. Brian Fuller shot beautiful stuff. And then we get to the editing portion, and we had shot it at a place where I had previously worked, and it was on a second floor above a bar in Shadyside. And if anyone knows Shadyside, I mean, it's an affluent area, but that also means there's a lot of break-ins,
right?
Because
people that's attracting.
That's where the money is.
Yes, exactly. Attracting a
So,
lesser,
right.
a lesser quality person to come and snatch up some things.
So we were. Will was sleeping on a couch. He was sleeping on the couch, and I'm there. And this is where I work, obviously, because it's an office. And I'm in a cubicle. And I had even drug in my iMac in there just to have my own little editing bay. And I hear this noise, and not like that scratching. And I'm looking. And I'm like, what is? And I think I'm hallucinating because
Right.
at this point I did the whole.
It's like 3 a.m.
I'm gonna produce and edit this. This is gonna be amazing because I didn't want back to the thankless. I'm like, I don't want someone else to have to do this
Right.
because that's. But I'm like, I peek to the side. I look, what? And I look and I don't see anything. So I go back to typing, and I have my headset on, and then I think, is it in the film?
Right.
Am I? And I'm like, so finally I hear it again, and it is like a jarring, like scratching, like with like a crowbar sound. I peek out the side of the cubicle, and there in this back window, which is facing an alley, is some guy in a ski mask. Now remember, we're on the second floor, so this guy had to climb up the fire, it was half up a fire escape, and then he's there
with a ski mask. Way to be a cliche guy.
I know, I was right. I was and it was full. This is how I thought I was hallucinating, because I'm like, of course he's in a ski mask.
And he's carrying a bag with a money sign on it too.
Right? It would not have shocked me at that point. So he looks at and I'm like, and first of all, the lights are on. So I'm thinking, how does he, but he must have peeked in, saw no movement or anything.
Right.
Because I think he was trying to get to the bar downstairs. Which I guess I could say it was Mardi Gras. Because, just so we know where we're at.
Okay, yeah.
So we're on the second floor at Mardi Gras. And he's, jamming, and he sees me. And I see him. And it's that moment of, well, he's outside the window, but can he get me?
Right.
What does he have? I don't know what he's going to do. But he just kind of looked, froze, and then I see him jump down. And I'm like, what? So I don't even run over to the window. I run over to the couch and I start shaking. Well, I'm like, Will, someone just tried to break in here. He's like, no, you're dreaming. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, you have to understand. When Will's asleep, he's not. Like, I can't tell him anything in the morning because it's like, like I could be like, the house is burning down and be like, no. So he's telling me, and I'm like, so he has me convinced, and I'm like going on fumes. I'm like, maybe you're right. Maybe it was a dream and I didn't. So I go over the window and there's like nothing there. There's no car, nothing. And I'm thinking, did I just? Because I mean, the last scene in our film has him robbing a place at gunpoint, and I'm thinking, am I just really? Well, the next day there was something wrong with the water. There were like police there and something, and the woman next door said, oh, well, I know why the police. She's like, because someone tried to rob the place last night. I'm like, how do you know? Like, how does and like, turns out there were security cameras and they caught. I was like, I know, I was there. I saw the guy. And so then I felt redeemed because I wasn't crazy.
It's like, I did see it.
But I had to give a statement to the police. I don't know if they ever caught the guy. It's like, because I mean, they technically didn't get in. I mean, I guess it would be damage to the window or whatever. Right. But oh, it was just like the craziest, just like and the thing was, it's one of those things where if I would have had my druthers, I would have done it. I would have edited at my house. Mm-hmm. This place, there's never anyone there on a Saturday or a Sunday. It's like, especially not at 3 a.m, right, like when no one's there. So this was such a fluke. Yeah. That I was there.
That's so crazy.
And then it was
somebody should be thanking you right now.
I know, right? I was like, that's that's the beer. Like, you buy me.
Not only did I edit this film, but I prevented crime.
Everything from being stolen from the second floor of this building. Oh my goodness.
Well, God, I'm so glad that they didn't get in and that ended in a more comical way than, it could have.
Hey, if I would have been more with it, I would have like popped out my camera and been like, I bet we could use this footage for that film, because we actually because they were in like masks when they robbed the place at the beginning of the film. So I would have had some extra B-roll there perfect. I mean, and how is that going to get? Because I mean, he couldn't really sue me, because if he had to sue me, then he'd have to admit he was breaking in. That's how you get around those things. Like, they always say, keep that extra tape in your pocket. Exactly. Even though it's all digital now.
Loophole.
It's like, that's one of those other loopholes. Film someone with a crime in process.
So, you guys, I know, like maybe 2 years ago, you guys got married around the same time as the 48. So that's like another reason why you haven't really.
Yeah, it was almost the week. We thought it was going to be the week it happened. It turned out it was the week, I think, before. I think we got married the week of.
I think it was before, and then you were on your honeymoon or something.
Yes, for that week? Then it was like the week last year. Something was happening last year during the week. So you're right. There have been instances where it's like, well, we even offered the wedding, right? Because we said, all these people who are coming to the wedding, I said, go ahead and use it. I said, if you want to use it for a film, I said, believe me, I can hand out consent slips along with the little like brochures for the wedding. Be like, here's the bride, here's the groom, here's the wedding party, and if you could just sign here, we will be able to use your face and likeness and anything in the future. And yeah.
So you've already said that you are going to, or you've offered up your help to any team this year. What is your more coveted role that you particularly care for? Is it editing and producing is what you really like doing?
Yeah, pretty much editing and producing. I'm confident in my DP skills, but I wouldn't offer to DP for a team this year because of I've shot stuff with my camera and everything else. And this is not anything against. If you have a T2I and you're shooting the 48, you are above the curve on certain things. Believe me, you are. But I know there are a lot of people out there with really good equipment. And if someone comes to you and they have, something a little bit nicer and they're offering it to you, be very thankful for that, because I mean, equipment is expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God. Like, and it's getting better. It's getting much better. I mean, I remember when
Oh God.
a T2i cost the same as a 5D. Well, maybe not that much, but I mean, like,
But it was very,
oh,
it's just like unfathomable to think about. Oh, I'll never be able to afford any really
oh
good
my
equipment,
goodness.
but now like things are getting much better.
Well, just 5 years ago, well, back when I was in grad school, which was just 5 years ago, these would be almost six now, we were shooting with Panasonic HVX, and the big thing was the P2 cards. And those P2
Oh.
cards were ridiculous, as I remember. Like, to buy a P2 card, you could probably buy a camera, like, now with it, because... And I mean, and it was the thing at the time, and people hadn't really gone to the SD. And I mean, I think the between the T2i, but the 5D changed everything.
Yeah.
It really did. It changed everything. And right now with my little T2i, I just know, I know people who, if I would be on like, I know that they have a lot better equipment than me. So it'd be, but yeah, editing, I'm okay to edit. Just like I said, buy me a beer or two afterwards.
Do you do any freelance editing or?
You know, I do. I've within the last couple of years, I've done work for a couple companies in Pittsburgh, just shooting commercials and like just or like web video commercials that they'd want to have, that like maybe a more professional look, and it's hard to go to a larger, which I'll say this to any of the professionals out there too. If you have someone who's, does freelancing video work, take a chance on them. You don't have to go to a big marketing company in Pittsburgh to get, even, because I've seen some work on local, like, commercials on the TV, and I look at it and I'm like, and that may have been shot by someone's best friend, I don't know, but like, sometimes you find out it was shot by like technically like a company that should probably like up their game. And I know there's plenty of my friends who could shoot something way better. Right. So if you're a company out there and you see freelancers, or you hear people talk about freelancers who can film stuff, give them a shot.
Exactly. Take a chance, because not only could you'd be getting some really great quality experience and talent, and for a fraction, I would imagine, of the cost of what, like, hiring a big company, that's just like inflating the budget just unnecessarily. So, and just, find a couple guys or gals who are doing this, as a side gig, or just something that you kind of just help them along. It's just like give a person a chance, give the new talent a chance.
Yes.
Not everybody has the overhead that they need to pay for. So it's just like...
And their employees and their rent and their building, and like all the stuff that comes with some of these bigger companies.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so 3x7. Have you been participating in that?
I just did the second one, the second week we did.
How was that?
It was good. I was the DP. With a 3x7, and it's similar to the 48, I guess, in the time constraints, and also in the fact that a lot of times I think with the 48, if you either haven't done it before, or you maybe just doing your first team this first time, you're more inclined to pick people who you kind of like, friends and family, I guess, what I would say. And 3x7, what's great about that over the 48 is, if you pick friends and family for the 48 and you're one of those super perfectionist people, you're going to have a bad time. Yeah. Because, like I said, it shouldn't be all serious. But if you know for a fact that you're one of those people who really strives for perfection and really wants the best look and everything, and you're going to do something like the 48 and you aren't willing to bend the rule, like bend your own perfectionist. Right. Ism. Perfectionism. Like there's going to be. Then it's gonna work out bad for you, bad for them, because you're gonna start yelling at for them for the stuff they can't control. Right. And it's fine if you're on a team with somebody who's like, "Yay, we're going to make a film, which, and then if you go and you watch your film and you're just so happy you made that and you made that with friends, then that is wonderful. That is amazing. Like, that is this, like, that's one of those things where, like, people always say, oh, I long for the days back when I did this just for the fun, or like not for the money. I mean, like sports people who like play games now for this paycheck and not because they were a little kid once and loved to hit a ball. Like, I mean, stuff like that. I think that's wonderful. So with the 3x7, there have been a bunch of people coming, like, or not a bunch, but like people I've seen who come who don't feel like they can't bring their friends to see, like, look, this is how things are doing. Now, you have to be respectful on set, because I mean, there are people who are very, like, get it done. Then you just kind of like hang back, but you don't feel like you need to just shut up and stand in a corner. You can go up to somebody and say, hey, how did you do this? What is this? What are these lights you're using? What, I noticed, or even like people, especially for actors, like go up and be like, hey, I noticed you like did this a certain way. Like, what was your inspiration? Like, how did you get into like that character? Like, did you have to think about it, or like, especially with the improv guys, like, well, how do you, it's one of those things where I think you can, like, a trial by fire is way easier with a 3x7. Yeah. And the one I was on, the people who were there who were not experienced filmmakers, actors, whatever, I don't think felt at all like they were being judged for it.
Oh,
which
that's
I
great.
think is, at least the one I did, I think it was wonderful.
For those who aren't familiar, 3x7 is basically just like, I guess it started where Mark Duplass gave a talk or something, a panel or something like at Sundance or something like that. And basically he was saying that there's no reason why, if you're a filmmaker, there's no reason why you can't be shooting something every weekend. Why you just basically, he's telling everybody, just go out and just do it. Just go shoot something, do something. And so there's a group of filmmakers here in Pittsburgh who decided who really took that suggestion to heart and just decided to like get together like different groups of people every weekend to shoot a film. And I think they've been doing it for 15 weeks now. And like, though, they just started like a Facebook group or something, and it's anybody can start it, like if from somebody who has a script to somebody who just wants to act in a role, and they just like, hey, put the feelers out, like, guys, I want to do this. And then everybody and you start grabbing people, and people just start coming up, and it's like, I can do a part of this. I have camera, I have editing, blah, blah, blah. I have a place to shoot. So it's just like that. And that's amazing. I'm really happy that they've been able to keep it going for so long, like 15 weeks. That's impressive. Excellent.
And sometimes I know that sometimes you if you're in the and if you haven't, if you go to Facebook and
it's like 3x7 films.
Yes, and I think it's a private group, but you can always ask to be invited. There's a couple hundred people on the list now, and it does range from people who have never done anything with film before to people who have worked on big budget stuff. So, and I mean, it's not all of, most of them are not for pay. So put it out there right now. This is for people who want to,
experience, connections, creativity,
and sharpen their chops, get all that in, and like, and maybe do something that you haven't done before. Like maybe you are an editor. Maybe that's what you do. You edit. Or maybe you just do sound. Maybe you're just a sound person. You're like, man, I would really love to use a camera. Or you know what? Maybe you're an editor, and maybe I really want to act. Maybe I want to get in front of the camera. You don't feel so bad saying, hey, let me, because it's, it's not huge. And some weeks it is harder to get people to get on, like, board and to do them, but they've done it. And some weeks there's been 3 films going at once. Man. So don't feel bad. If you look at a project and they're already using it from people, don't think you can't start a second project that week and post it. Right. I mean, there could be 10 projects. That would be wouldn't that be wonderful? Like, to have 10 projects at once with like all these people, and then going, here's what I made, here's what I made, here's what I made, and just have them all going. And, anybody from student films all the way up to, if you're like hanging out at your bridge group with your lady friends and you guys think, you know what, my grandson has a camera. Like, I mean, make a film if you want to.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with some questions to get to know you, including your top 5. Hey there. I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Rugged Angel podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. So, does the Pittsburgh 48-Hour Film Project sound like fun to you? Well, there is still time to get involved. The actual filmmaking weekend is happening next weekend, July 10th through 12th. Go to 48hourfilm.com/Pittsburgh for more information as well as to register. If you don't want to make a film, but you do want to see all the films, come out to the Hollywood Theater on July 19th, 20th, and or the 21st. Like the Pittsburgh 48-Hour Film Project Facebook page to stay in the loop. Now back to the show.
This many friends. I know. Well, there were a lot I got. They're all like shadow friends.
So you actually do web design and graphic design and all that jazz. Do you do any of that freelance?
Yes. And the graphics more than the web design. Another church, Presbyterian church, my mother-in-law was asking me if I could help them out and do a site for them. Mm-hmm. And granted, I think web design now, like if you're a smaller company, I mean, there's places like Squarespace and Wix. If you need something complicated,
right?
Like you have some weird, not even e-commerce systems now are so automated. Like you could just
even
get
Wix,
them.
like you can
just plug WordPress is amazing. And I just, I look at like from when I started web design, like back when I was in school and I studied mass communications, I did that, and I did that's where I started, was undergrad with like mass and then into web design. I minored in art studio, so then I had graphic design. And I started with like Photoshop 4 or whatever. It was like back in the day. And when I started learning Flash, I mean, it was when you had to code stuff in. Like you actually, to make the ball move like this, you had to type in, the different permissions and everything else. And now you just go, meh. And it's like it's moving and smiling and everything else. Like, I mean, it's like you draw a line and it moves around. Yeah. But no, so I do, like, I'll do graphic work, and I'll do like, I mean, I like to do like a lot of volunteer graphic work, like for people like that are my friend, like for Swan Day, like the logo for Swan Day.
Oh, you did that? Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And they've used the same one now for 2 years,
I love that.
which honestly, I think that, like, I was actually really proud of. I'm like, I like this one. And then the Swan Day Junior is like a baby duck, but it's the same kind of like Banksy-ish style.
Yeah.
With, like so yeah, I like to do it, but I do get like Mount Lebanon Chiropractic, that the owner there, he ended up contacting me because he's just a few weeks ago, and I haven't gotten back to him just because I'm kind of like, do I really want to do this right now? But he wanted some graphical work done. He has like this great idea to do something. Now there I would charge, and generally, generally, like I'll charge $50 an hour, which is very low for what it is. But I feel like charging someone $75 an hour, for me, just feels so high. It just feels so like, and you need a website, and I don't want to take nothing. I've always told everybody, like, don't work for like free. Like, be at least that there's something, whether it's like with something like Swan Day, like that's my friends, right. But it's also like I'm making a film for that. It'll say on there like produced by, like, I'll be the like logo by Jennifer. Yeah. Well, bucket thing, but logo by Jennifer Guffey, like, will be on there. So it's that's something. But like these advertisements on Craigslist, I see for like, I need, some like graphic designer, great experience, great, like, and it's somebody you don't know, and it's a company that you like. Yeah.
Well, speaking of jobs, let's talk about the top 5 of your past jobs that you've had.
Okay.
I've also made a list. I participate in this portion of it as well. So you give me yours, and then I'll give you mine.
Okay. Should I go in order?
However you want.
Okay. Well, I guess if I'm going past, I really love my job right now, so I have to put that out there. Like, word. It's really awesome.
Yes, we were just talking about jobs in the past, that like 5 of the jobs in the past that you had that you enjoyed for whatever reason. Like, it could be something really small. So it could be something small as like you liked where your desk was, or
exactly. Oh my gosh.
Or as big as you got paid X amount of dollars. I mean, it's just
the weirdest. Okay, so I guess number 1, would have to be when I was GM at the Mifflinburg Hotel and Scarlet D Tavern in central Pennsylvania, which is where I worked a few months before. Like, I came to Pittsburgh. I had that job. I worked for that nonprofit
Right.
or excuse me, for-profit school slightly after that, but that was for a few months before I was like, no, not any more of this. But I did that for almost 3.5 years, and I had grown up in hotels because my grandfather was an entrepreneur, like an old school entrepreneur.
Nice.
He was but he was also a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy.
Awesome.
And Norman Buck. And
Norman Buck, what a great name.
My father after him, Rick Buck, who is one of, I mean, business-wise is my inspiration. Like, my dad is just on point. Like, I mean, he's doing, the man does everything. He's the president of the companies. He runs the heating and air conditioning and plumbing business that my grandfather started out of the back of his truck.
Really?
Back in the late 1960s, I think.
Wow.
But and then my dad's also a musician. He just got back from Nashville this past week. He was down there working with Mark Cash, Johnny Cash's nephew,
cool.
and Johnny Cash's
Super
brother.
cool.
He's actually the guitarist when they go on the road.
Nice.
So, it, you know, so just an inspiration. But so my grandfather started, like I said, a plumbing and heating business out of the back of his truck, and then grew that into 3 different stores, like 3 local little stores, and then in the early 90s, a beaten up hotel in Watsontown, which is like right across the street from where my parents live now, came up for sale, called the Watson Inn. And he was like, all right, I'll buy that because I can fix it up. And he was always interested in old stuff. Like, he loved history and he loved creating things and making things. He was also a musician.
Oh,
so
cool.
he just revitalized the entire hotel, and it looked gorgeous. Well, then a few years later, the Lewisburg Hotel in Lewisburg, PA, where Bucknell is, that came up for sale. And that was kind of run down. And he was like, well, I did it to one, may as well do it to the other. So he bought the Lewisburg Hotel, fixed that all up, and took it all. And when I say fix it up, he takes them back to like their Victorian age. So he puts in the woodwork, and like, I mean, he'll put in false fireplaces that you would have sworn were like big, beautiful wooden. I mean, he has guys who've worked with him for years. There's, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but it was a woodworker who, I mean, this man has to be in his 80s, and he's just does the most beautiful stuff. But I mean, that was who they were using to do these. And then in 2005, the Mifflinburg Hotel came up for sale. And my grandfather was like, all right, 3rd time's the charm. So he put it under agreement, and then right before it was supposed to finalize, he passed away.
Oh.
So my family, which is now, my grandmother was the holder of the company now, which my grandmother is lovely, and she's an amazing woman in her own right. She raised 4 boys, so, you know, you have to, you got to be strong for that.
Definitely.
But she never really wanted to be on the business side of anything. That was always my grandfather. So my father stood up as the president of the company and said, you know what? He wanted to do this. Let's do this. Let's get this hotel ready. So we went ahead with the sale. And so now my father fixed it up in, you know, the vein of my grandfather. And I was fortunate enough when they needed a manager for it. I had, my first job was as a hostess when I was I think I started when I was 16 as a hostess at the Watson Inn.
Oh, nice.
And then I was a hostess until I was 18. And then between there I worked at the typical the Burger King. You have to. I mean, come on, you got to do at least. Even if, right now, if you're not doing anything and you just want to just go work fast food for like a week or two,
right?
Just to get the experience, because I mean, it is.
So
Yes, because it is an experience. Like, and try and do like late night drive through, because that's really the best.
I'm sure that's got to be an experience in itself.
Best.
What's the next one on your list?
The next one is the CCN News Videography Graphics Producer.
Oh, cool.
I worked in the news station when I was right out of college, and I worked there for about a year. Produced a segment on Relay for Life, where we worked the 24-hour Relay for Life and filmed the entire time.
Oh, man.
I put it together, ran back to the station, dumped footage. Because, I mean, that was also when you were dumping footage, like, I mean, you didn't have a lot of space to dump it and everything else. And we were using the big beta cams.
Ooh.
So that was fun. I mean, I would say that was my second favorite, because just it was truly my first thing out of college where I felt like I was working in the professional, like it was like I'm holding a camera, but I'm getting paid to do it.
Right.
And it really, like, and also it also really made me love graphics and doing graphics for news segments.
Awesome.
And even those, the closed circuit where it comes up, where it tells you about the events coming up.
Yeah.
The community calendar.
Yeah.
I was in charge of posting events there too.
Yes.
And so I took it upon myself to make them as exciting as possible if I could. So that was the second one. Number 3 is the Pittsburgh Filmmakers Equipment Office.
Oh, cool.
Was a lot of fun. I was actually worked there as a web designer shortly and got paid for it, but working at the equipment office with everyone down there was just awesome. Like, sure, everyone there is like, and so to learn everything. And if you can get a chance to volunteer at the Pittsburgh Film Office, please do it, because you learn from people there, you meet people there, and it's just a great place to be all around. I mean, it's just, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and yeah.
Good to know.
Yep. The fourth place, I guess I listed, was I worked as a web designer / rental agent at Century 21, in back where I'm from in a little town called Milton. And it was interesting because they hired me to set up and do the website, but they also wanted me to do the networking in the office. But I tried to explain to them that computer networking and computer and web design are two different things.
Completely different things. It's like somebody who it's like an interior designer versus the contractor who's built the house.
Yes, the architect. Yeah,
it's like the architect.
There's no, these aren't the same thing. So, I would just, and it was this great rental gig because I got paid under the table for every unit that I rented out. So I would make these graphically beautiful, like, rental, like, signs. And then, like, when I would post, like, it was just kind of interesting because of just the juxtaposition of that. I mean, you typically, like a web designer, you're sitting in front of your computer and you're not engaging with the outside world. But like, then I would like head out the door and go show units to people. So it was like this, and then I would meet like some really interesting people. In fact, one of the most interesting was this couple who was just not impressed at all by this one house, which actually turned out it used to be, it was in this little tiny, it's a village. I mean, literally a village called McEwensville. And there's a house there that used to be a hotel, like one of those boarding places back in the day that George Washington stayed there on his way in through.
Wow.
And they were just not impressed. I was like, so like, I'm telling you about this and this is the coolest thing and everything. And they're like, so like, is this electric heat or is this? And I'm like, no, you don't have to. So that was interesting. And then number 5, when I was between colleges, I worked at a greenhouse.
Oh, really?
I know. And yes, it was this greenhouse in a town called Danville, which most people know because of there's a PP&L power plant there, and there's like a big there's the Montour Preserve is around this big preserve, which is very gorgeous. But I worked in this greenhouse, and first of all, I got to work with a lot of my local like people I went to school with. Like not a lot of them, but like they would work there in the summer. And it was weird because there were like a couple groups. There were the high school / college kids who were there working for a summer job. There were the people who were like the managers and like the lifetime people. There were this old group of retired ladies who like worked there, and all they did was they were on the potting line. So whenever like you would never, and you always wanted to be on the potting line because then it was inside and it was cooler and it wasn't outside in the sun. But these women, they had it locked down.
Nice.
So they would be like, oh, I can't go out. And then you had like the migrant workers, and everyone, like you would think that this is like such a weird like with everyone, but everyone got along like so well, and everyone like did their own thing. But I loved it because first of all, I lost a ton of weight because when you're running plants around and
Right?
out in the hot sun, you lose weight and you get in good shape. Great tan. But it just, I think it reminds me how much I love working with my hands. Like I absolutely, there's something about, I've always said that when I retire someday, I want to like build a car just because like there's something about tactile, just
Right.
physically doing something. And I'm in my brain the whole time with like graphics and even and visually and everything. It's just like when you can touch something and,
Right.
and make it. It's that Ron Swanson in me coming out. Like I want to build canoes and chairs and marry Megan Mullally, and then I'll be good. But I mean, it's seriously, it's so those are my top 5.
Excellent. I love that. They're also very different. That's awesome. Okay, so also full disclosure, I do love my current job. It's, these are all jobs in the past. They have nothing to do with my recent job, my current job. So and I've had a lot of jobs. So this is kind of
That's a
difficult.
tough question.
It is. So my first job when I was like 14 was I worked at a park, and I don't even remember the name. Riverside Park it was, and I was technically like the receptionist, I guess, but they had like a little day camps going on there and all that, and it was like a summer program where you could work at 14. They would like hire 14 and 15-year-olds to come work for the summer, which was great. And so there was like a bunch of different age, so it was like from 14 to 18, and we would all be doing different things. Like I would technically be at the desk and be the receptionist, but we would also be like out in the park and like cleaning up the park, or like doing stuff, or there'd be like little kids, a day camp, or we could help out with that if we wanted to. So for 2 years I did that, like 2 summers.
But that's
And
so
it was so much fun. And like you get to hang out with friends, or you make new friends, and it was just really cool, and I enjoyed that. Back in Toledo. UPS. I worked.
Really?
I was in the, not driving. I was in the line, sorting line. I was a sorter, and I was when I was at the University of Toledo in college, and I worked like the 10 p.m. to like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. shift, something like that. But at that time in my life, I was like, I want to say 19, 20 maybe a little bit older, probably like 20, 21, and single. And like, that's like the best place to work.
You're like, I'm going to be awake during this hours anyway, normally.
Exactly. Exactly. Like the dudes that worked there,
oh my goodness,
just like so hot, like all the time. It was great. It was just like eye candy, and just, you talk and you flirt and you do a little bit of work, and, you do your thing. And it was just amazing. Like I had like that was like the height of my dating career at that point in time, those 2 years that I worked at UPS. It was super fun. And
so ladies, if you're listening,
exactly.
and you're single and you're 19, 20,
exactly. UPS.
UPS.
It's a good, because like, I mean, really, what are you looking for at like between the ages of like 18 and 21,
You're
22? You don't need anything more than good looking.
No.
And the guy, and he's got a job. So I mean, you got that.
Already. I mean, it's like, like, now, do you really? Like, no,
Yeah, exactly.
I can see it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You see what's going on. And it's such a big place. Like, you could definitely like work your way through, and it's fine. Number 3, also, when I was at the University of Toledo, I worked at Video Connection, which was just like a video store. And it's just like, that was just fabulous, because you could take home like up to like 5 movies a night. And that's where I got like a lot of my film education, was just like watching so many movies.
Now,
But it
did
was,
they let you play certain like, I mean, 'cause
yeah,
you know
like we
how,
could play like whatever we wanted to.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was, and we got to take home like the movie posters. So like my first apartment that what was to myself, like my roommate and I, we had like a stairwell going up to our apartment, and it was a duplex. So we would put like movie posters like going along the wall, because I had so many posters. Like we would just like switch them out after a while. It was so great. Number 4, last year I was a booking agent for an actor, and he went around and did Comic Cons. And so I got to go around with him to Comic Cons and like travel, and that was awesome. Like
Oh my
I
gosh.
had so much fun. I had only been to like maybe one Comic Con type thing like in my life, but then, and actually that's where I met him. And then we became friends, and then he ended up he parted ways with his existing booking agent and needed help for a year, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. And then like me and Dan would go around, like went to like Chicago and Florida, and it's just like, it was so much fun. And I really wish Comic-Cons had existed when I was like in high school.
I know.
When I was so much younger, because this is such a great environment, like to let all your geek out and, you know, not to be judged.
And no one cares. Like,
Right.
I mean, if you want to show up as your like World of Warcraft character,
Right.
no one, everyone's gonna look at you and be like, "Wow, that's interesting. Who are you?" And then you tell them, and they're like, "Oh, I get that." Like, they're
Right.
not even.
Can I
gonna
take a
say,
picture with you?
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool. And yeah, so that was really fun. And I would like to get back to that, but I don't know. And number 5, teaching artist for MGR, the Maryland G. Rab Foundation. 3 years ago, maybe, they were doing a project with Teenie Harris and about Teenie Harris with Carnegie, with the museum. And we were going around and teaching. We were going around and into different schools in their after school program, and I was teaching photography, like sort of like the basis of photography, like as very little as you possibly could, but like also like familiarizing them with Teenie Harris and the works of Teenie Harris. And it was grades 3rd up through high school.
Oh, that's incredible.
And it was so much fun to like get to like connect with these kids, and to like go, we would have some classes would be at the science museum, and it was really fun. And, you know, watching them and learning things from them, and then teaching them about photography, or about, you know, some history lessons about Pittsburgh. Right.
Like, really?
Explain to them what a negative is, because, you know, at a certain age, they're like, you know, they've never seen it before.
No.
They have no idea of anything other than digital.
Yes.
So yeah, so those were good times. I really enjoyed those. And now let's go and find a random question for you. Do you hesitate to answer strangers' questions?
I wish I did. No, I'm terrible with that. If, like I said, if someone starts talking to me, it's like all coming out. Like, I'm like the quintessential extrovert. In fact, I want them to talk to me. I'm like, please, like, even if you want to talk about yourself, like, I just want to sit here and listen.
Just give me an in.
So yeah, no. I think I wish I was a little bit more hesitant sometimes, because sometimes I'm just like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, and I think more when, not generally, but more when like someone will start saying something politically, and I really try to stay out of political stuff. Like, I usually just like, but sometimes like I just can't stop myself, and then Will's just like, no, stop that. So I just get so impassioned and stuff.
So speaking of, and real quick, because we've like way over
Oh,
already.
gosh,
No. But I wanted to ask you about CurvyCon.
Oh yes! Oh, it was amazing. Like, CurvyCon was the inaugural one in New York City this year. We all went up. It was basically, to give the gist of it, it is a convention celebrating women and their many curves. And I I was, and I don't feel bad saying about this. I was one of the smaller women there, and everyone there was so like on fleek. Like, I'm gonna use
just
that
beautiful
term.
and
Like,
gorgeous.
oh
and
my,
just,
these women were spectacular. Like, I mean, their hair and their makeup and everything. Like, it felt so good to be in a room and not have the first thing I worry about. Like, do I look fat in this? The first thing you worry about being in a room with these women is like, is this outfit not like, I mean,
not
should I
flashy
like
enough.
not
Should I have
flashy?
done more?
Should I have like, I mean, is my makeup running? Like, is that like, I mean, you just felt, and it was incredible. And all these women, I mean, there was a photographer there. He was in his glory taking pictures of these women. You could tell he was just like very excited. There were a couple girls there who were, the typical like model, like model size. Um, and I don't want to say they looked uncomfortable. They did look out of place, and I think they kind of, because they were looking at some of the clothes on the rack, and there was nothing that could fit them, which was such a weird thing for them. Because I mean, everything there was like, I think it started at a size. Some of them may have had a 10, but it started at size 12.
Wow.
12 and up, and like tall, 12 and tall, and it was just the women and just how empowering they were. I mean, there were panels on, just panels on different things like sex and like being comfortable with your body. And then there was like one on fitness. There was one just on fashion, on makeup, and which products work for you. We had swag bags, and
Cool.
I mean, I'm not afraid to, like, in our swag bags. So now remember at CurvyCon, I mean, there was like NYX makeup, which was really cool. But then right next to the NYX makeup was a tube of Monistat chafing cream. And the thing is, you would say that to anyone else, and they would be like, "Oh my god, what? No. That's wonderful for you to put that in, because as like a larger girl, and I can say that, right? I mean, my weight fluctuates. I've been down, and I mean, so if you see a picture of me from like the 48 a couple years ago, I was down, and then I was back up, and right now I'm like kind of like a mid grade where I am. But when it's warm and it's hot, like, they understand their audience, and they know that like the ladies are gonna be like, "Thank you for that. That's awesome." So, but everyone was beautiful. I mean, I would go again in a heartbeat. Besides that, there was a fashion show. The one, oh my goodness, the one model who was she was like the first one in like Sports Illustrated. The one, what I'm thinking of, the white bikini on.
Yeah.
She was there modeling and doing
awesome.
like, I mean, just, my sister is actually the one who found out about it from a video blogger, a vlogger named Sarah Vargas, I believe. There was another blogger there who I ended up talking to. Didn't even realize she was a blogger because I was just in my own little named Ashley, and I'm blanking on her last name, but she was fabulous too. And just hearing her talk about like sex and in the room full, and everyone's comfortable but it was just inspiring. It was really inspiring to be there and think, this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have to walk into a room and worry, like, actually, like, let me step back. I wanted to say, like, my makeup and everything, but the one thing was, like, the thing you worried about when you were talking in a group of women was if you had something intelligent to say. That was what you really worried, because you were like, am I interesting?
Right.
And that's what it should be.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be,
what am I wearing? How do I look?
What exactly? And I understand for what we do with film.
Yeah, it happens.
There are unfortunately, there are people going for a certain look, for certain things, even like on camera and everything, and even off camera.
Right.
Like, I mean, the whole high-heeled shoes thing at the red carpet. I mean, what is that? Like, but I think it's getting there, and I think that when we're more concerned about how someone is as a person as opposed to what they look like, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful world. So
yes, thank you, Jennifer. Where can we find stuff for you online? Do you have a website, or do you tweet?
Well, I have a lot of my stuff is under Jenny Guffey. Like, so I think it's, if you on IMDb, it's now under Jennifer Guffey. I finally got that all updated which is good because there's only one Jennifer Guffey on IMDb, and there's like a million Jennifer Bucks. So,
well,
so that worked out really well. So the perfectlyflawedfilms.com, we're still under a bit of construction, but if you pretty much look up under Jennifer Guffey or Perfectly Flawed Films, you'll find me. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I enjoyed this. Having known you for a while now, I can say that I know you.
Well, thank you again. This was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what comes out of 48 this year.
Yes, me too. This has been a Rugged Angel production.